treat overactive bladder naturally. One of the worst things to deal with is an overactive bladder. While generally physiologically benign, unless it is actually symptomatic of a more serious urinary disorder, overactive bladders can be very embarrassing. With this disorder, even laughing becomes a challenge, and any activities, no matter how menial or strenuous, are equally hampered by the constant fear of accidentally leaking. Medically, the condition associated with this is called overactive bladder syndrome, which is more commonly reported in women than men. To manage the syndrome, you have the choice of using more natural methods or taking synthetic medication. The former is more effective, as it does not put pressure on your liver. Thus, it is important to learn how to treat overactive bladder naturally. Note that when matters become extreme, a last resort would be surgical intervention, and doing so entails the enlargement of the bladder to reduce urination frequency. Here are a few steps and reminders to help you as you deal with your overactive bladder naturally. 1. The Japanese wonder herb. In Japan, the collusion of herbs called Goshijinkigan has the most documented positive track record in dealing with bladder disorders. The hyphenated name comes from the fact that this is not just one herb, but a combination of several different herbs. The efficacy of this herb mix has also started to gain prominence in the West, as numerous clinical trials have been carried out to confirm the ability of the herb to deal with overactive bladder syndrome. The herb has been shown to be effective in both men and women. Besides this, there are other herbal remedies that are also being investigated, such as saw palmetto and the buchu plant. 2. Train your bladder. It might sound like something that children are asked to do, but the most basic thing that you can do to naturally treat your overactive bladder is to retrain it. This means that you will have to keep a record of your fluid intake and schedule when you allow yourself to urinate. This means that your bladder will be made to adhere to a schedule instead of just sporadically requiring urination. 3. Exercise your bladder. Another natural way to counteract overactive bladder syndrome is Kegel exercises, which is an exercise that seeks to strengthen the muscle located in the floor of the pelvis. The consequence of strengthening the said muscle is better bladder control. This exercise is relatively easy to do as it is carried out by simply squeezing your pelvic muscles. You can do this exercise any time in the day, especially during idle periods. For those who want more extreme Kegel exercises, there are also pelvic toning devices available for use. 4. Reduce caffeine intake. There are certain substances called diuretics that encourage urination. For a person with overactive bladder syndrome, it goes without saying that they should avoid these kinds of fluids because it will only further increase the frequency of their urination. This inevitably means that people with overactive bladders should cut back, if not abstain from drinking caffeine, because it has long been noted to be a diuretic. 5. Keep a tab on your medications. One important thing you can do if you have overactive bladder syndrome is to check whether you have maintenance medications that actually encourage further urination. Doing so will make you extra cautious about the activities that you do after taking the drugs. Another thing that you can do is talk to your doctor about alternative medications that do not have increased urination as a side effect. Without a doubt, living with an overactive bladder is difficult. However, as has been shown in this video, there are ways to be able to deal with them naturally. By knowing how to treat an overactive bladder naturally, you open yourself to more opportunities to live a normal and hassle-free life, even with the occasional bouts of frequent urination.